It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. The questions that you're seeing are from our live show on Thursday night. To get on the show, you got to use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. You definitely have to be subscribed. All these questions are going to be regarding the Raiders' upcoming game against the Carolina Panthers. On top of that, you're going to see some trade questions, some free agency questions, and so forth. We got one coming in here from Alec. Do you think there's any chance Raiders get flexed into a primetime game if the Raiders keep winning? The only reason why it's way too early to be able to decide this is because I don't know if it's so much the Raiders. I think it would be the teams that they're playing. So they already have a Monday night game against Atlanta. Jacksonville doesn't look like that's going to be flexed. The flex game on the schedule right now, if they were to move things around, if the Saints keep playing the way that they're playing, and if the Raiders are in a playoff spot, I guarantee you that game has a chance to get flexed. Let's go to Rich Wolf. Can Bowers be the best tight end soon after Kelsey retires? Anybody that's watched the Chiefs at all this season, Travis Kelce has lost a step. And when you get to that age, and, I'm not going to rip on Kelce. He's still one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest tight end of all time. I would still take Gronk in his prime. But Kelce now has got he's got a new dating life. And I think when you start doing certain things like that and it takes away from your everyday job of being an NFL player, you might slip off just a little bit. But Kansas City has not really been implementing Kelce nearly as much, and Travis hasn't been. He's lost a step. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at all. I think Brock Bowers already is a top 5 tight end in the NFL. I really do. When you watch Bowers move, it's different. He just glides across the field, and it almost reminds me of a super athletic Jason Witten, where there was times you're like, how is Jason Witten getting open? When you watch Brock Bowers, he's that guy where you're like, oh my God, he just ran right by that guy. Oh wow, he just powered past that guy. He can do all these things super, super well. I think right now the NFL is spoiled with some really good young tight end talent. But I'm telling you right now, Brock Bowers is going to be the best tight end in the NFL in 3 years. No doubt in my mind. Rebel, I don't know what that means. I think it's Raiders win 36-24. That's what I'm going with. Rebel, I hope that Carolina doesn't score 24. But if the Raiders put up 36, I'm going to lose my mind, dude. Let's go to Jake. What's up, bro? Who is someone you want to see more of this week? I guess I would say Jackson Powers-Johnson just because we haven't seen him really yet. But I don't know if he's going to be out there or not. And again, I'm filming this on Thursday, so we'll kind of see what the update is. Actually, you know what? There's one name, Chugs. We were talking about it earlier today, and I was like, this guy could It'd be cool to see if this guy ends up having a really, really good football game. And how about this? I'm going to ask you guys this question. I want to know somebody that you want to see more of this week, or a player that you're like, you know what? This is going to be a guy that ends up stepping it up and just does some big things. And think of it as like my under-the-radar type of players. It's going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down, give me your answer. After that ad break is going to be my answer. The answer I got for you is K'Lavon Chaisson. Hear me out. I know, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. The reason why I say that is I am a believer in revenge games. I am a believer when people have that extra level of motivation, you get a little bit more. And for K'Lavon Chaisson, it's not really, I think, an athletic thing. It is a up-here thing. It's the extra motivation. And for a guy that was signed by Carolina and then released this offseason, I could see him going, you know what? I want to prove them wrong. I want to prove to everybody in that organization that organization is a shitty organization, and it's not a me problem. Janarius Robinson struggled a little bit. I would give K'Lavon Chaisson a little bit more reps this week, because if he can get it going, I think that's a really good confidence booster for that young man right there. Let's go to today's MVP so far, Noah Santana. At this point, I want Glaze at right tackle or right guard and JPJ at center. The only thing that I'll say here is Dylan Parham has been the Raiders' most reliable offensive lineman so far, and when the Raiders drafted Parham, I was one of the people that was like, I think his most natural position is right guard. The Raiders wanted to put him at left guard, so on and so forth. Parham is where he should be. I think he is best at right guard. So if you want to put DJ Glaze at right tackle, I would then entertain the idea of putting Thayer Munford over at left guard. And I know the thought of benching Andre James might be crazy for some people, but Andre's been really bad this season. I mean, he's been worse than Whitehair. The Achilles heel right now on our offensive line, it's Andre James. And when your center is as bad as what James is right now, it really ruins the flow of everything else that you're trying to do. I know that the Raiders paid James, but when you really look at his contract, they can get out of it after this season. My point is this. If you want JPJ to play, which I want him out there too at left guard, but if Andre James doesn't figure it out soon, we talk about, Devontae's always the name that gets mentioned in trade rumors. Kolton Miller, Andre James. Watch for those two names at the trade deadline if they can't figure it out here a little bit. If you're looking for Raiders videos every single day, if you cut your arm right now, I'm not saying do it, but if you did it and silver and black fell out, those are the type of people here I want watching the Raiders Report. You know who I guarantee you is a real one who bleeds silver and black? Raider Angel 530. We should give the Giants a call for one of their star players, Bobby, I can never get this name right, Okereke. Can he be a realistic option? There's one name that I think is actually the most realistic option from the New York Giants, and that is Azeez Ojulari. Ojulari was a second-round pick back in 2021 when Patrick Graham was the New York Giants defensive coordinator. He had 8 sacks as a rookie, and then Patrick Graham leaves. Azeez hasn't been able to figure it out. I think when you look at the type of player that Ojulari is he's somebody where you let him pin his ears back, you get north and south. The problem with the New York Giants has been they've been losing so many games that he's forced to be a little bit more in the run situation. Think of Azeez as a player like Malcolm Koonce. If you have Malcolm in a game a lot where he's got to do a lot of run defending, he's not nearly the player that he is. If you put him out there where he's like, hey, man, go get the quarterback, then Malcolm Koonce can do a lot of good things. With Malcolm getting injured, I've been saying for weeks, if I'm the Raiders, I figure out a way to make a deal for Azeez Ojulari, who's on the final year of his deal. The New York Giants stink. 5th-round pick, I think, is all that it takes. Let's go to Ron Raspberry. How many turnovers can we expect Sunday? I mean, Andy Dalton has never thrown an interception against the Raiders in his career. He's got 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Carolina, though, this has got to be a matchup where I will say this, Dalton has been a quarterback that's handled the pressure pretty well, but the Raiders are one of those teams that can get, they can get after you with 4, which I think is one of the trump cards that you can play in a sense of when you can get after the QB with 4, it's almost like a cheat code. I'm going to go with 2 turnovers. I'm going to say we're going to get a Jakorian Bennett pick, and I'm going to say we're going to get an Adam Butler fumble recovery. Both players, I think, which I've been saying for a while, Adam Butler is one of the most underappreciated players on this team. Those guys don't get a lot of love. They deserve some love, so those are the 2 dudes that I think are going to end up getting a turnover. You know who does deserve a lot of love, Chugs? Our sponsor, Game Time. I love Game Time. How many people out there are planning on going to a Raiders game this season? How many people are planning on maybe going to a comedy event? Maybe you're planning on going to a theater. How about this? If you're planning on going to Las Vegas, go download the Game Time app right now because Game Time, I love it. I think you guys will like it too. I love being able to go watch football games, and I love the atmosphere. It's why we do what we do here on the Raiders Report. And if you want to be able to go enjoy that atmosphere at the lowest price guaranteed, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS at CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. I love the Game Time picks. I love the super deals. I love that they got that lowest price guarantee. And I think for shopping-wise, it's one of the easiest apps out there to use because I've used a lot of other ticketing apps. If I'm going to spend $100, $200, $500 on something, I want to know exactly what I'm getting. You know what I mean? So the fact that I can see where I'm sitting, the fact that I can see again exactly where I'm sitting, I think is a real game changer. Game Time. So if you're planning on going to a game and you want to make sure that you get a really, really good deal, the Game Time picks right now, I think is what's really separating Game Time from a lot of these other places out there. So if you want to go to a game, if you're trying to create lasting memories, that link is in the comments. It's in the description. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. What's up, Anthony Parks? Should we try to get Aaron Donald out of retirement to play for us? Well, I believe it's kind of like the K'Lavon Chaisson situation and Andrew Luck situation, where if he comes out of retirement, I believe he's still got 2 years or maybe 1 year technically left with the Rams, so you would actually have to trade for him. This is a crazy idea, and I've seen it being brought up where people were saying with how many injuries right now are on the Rams, the idea of trading for Matthew Stafford If the Raiders win this week, I will not entertain that idea. If the Raiders lose this week to Carolina, I'm telling you right now, and if the Rams lose, watch how many people start talking about Matthew Stafford to the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go to Leonard Wilkins. Why is Kolton Miller so bad right now? I just don't think he's healthy, dude. Like, when you watch Kolton play, and again, when you're at this level, when you second-guess yourself for a half a second, you get beat. Like, and you could see it in Kolton's face. He doesn't trust his arm at all. Like, that rotator cuff surgery, he lets people get into him way too far, and he's so long and lanky. When he's able to use that left arm and push people away, it's a real difference maker. You could tell he's not confident in himself, right? Like, and I know Antonio Pierce called the Raiders' offensive line piss poor, and, you know, I don't want to sit up here and say, like, oh, it's because Kolton Miller's also, like, worrying about Cody Whitehair and Andres Pete. I'll say it probably doesn't help, right? Like, it definitely probably doesn't help. But Kolton Miller gave up 5 sacks so far this season. The last time he gave up more than 5 sacks in a single season, you got to go all the way back to 2019. As a rookie, he gave up 16. As a sophomore, he gave up 8. He's been one of the most reliable, best left tackles in the league. But then I think it's also he hasn't been able to practice. He doesn't know what James Craig's system looks like. And offensive line chemistry is probably the most important chemistry unit out there. I think chemistry from a quarterback and wide receiver is less important for the chemistry that you need to be able to have out there on your offensive line. And the Raiders haven't been able to get it. He's working some rust off. You got to hope that he gets better, because if he doesn't, he's got $0 million guaranteed on his contract. And I think people just assume that he's going to be back next season. But, like, you know, if Kolton keeps playing the way that he's playing, I'm not going to pay him $12 million a year. You can cut him. You can save it. You can trade him. You can do a lot of different things. Let's go to Los Oakland Raiders. Next year draft, is there any good offensive linemen? Yes, there is. I'm not going to sit up here and give you a bunch of names. I know that there is a lineman that's, like, projected to go in the top 5, and I can't quite think of his name right now. I'll tell you this. If you want to watch college football this weekend, the most entertaining offensive line in college football is the Tennessee Volunteers. They beat the shit out of people. Watch how physical they are. I mean, that is an offensive line. When they go out there, they want to make you feel this big. They're going to try to pancake people. They rip people apart. If you want to watch good offensive line play, watch the Tennessee Volunteers, and probably the biggest game of the week against Oklahoma. I've been watching Tennessee's quarterback a little bit more. I'm not even going to try to butcher his name right now. That offensive line is really impressive, though. Let's go to Dave. What's up, man? Trade for Bryce Young for a 6th. It's going to cost way more than that. I know Bryce Young has been bad. The Panthers today said that they have no plans on trading him. If I'm in Bryce Young's camp, I say get me the hell out of here as soon as possible. I know what I'm about to say is going to sound like a lot, but I would say at the lowest value possible that you would be able to get Bryce Young for is like a 3rd-round pick, and maybe that's a conditional 3rd. Based on what we've been told here at Chat Sports, we've been told that it's going to cost you a 3rd and a 5th-round pick. But, like, these situations have happened before. And the fact that he's the number 1 overall pick, the fact that it's only been 18 games, I want to say, in his NFL career, it's like, you know, if Sam Darnold goes for a 2nd and a 6th, if Baker Mayfield goes for a 2nd and a 6th, look at the Josh Rosen trade. Bryce Young will not go for a 6th-round pick. If that's all it costs, there's going to be a lot of NFL teams out there that would make that trade. Even if you don't believe in Bryce Young, I think all 31 NFL teams make that trade because they go, I can flip that for a better rate, right? Like, if I was right now going to tell you, hey, I'm going to sell you this car for $20,000, you look up on Kelley Blue Book and that's a $40,000 car. Even if you don't need that car, if you have the money, which all these billionaires do, you would buy that car because you're like, I can flip that for a profit. Let's go to Win, baby, win. You were right about Adam Butler. Just want to know who is someone the nation is sleeping on. I think I kind of said it earlier during our live show. I think it's Jakorian Bennett. And I've been tough on Jakorian. I'm probably, tougher on a lot of these Raiders players. And when you expect commitment to excellence, you're going to be judgy. And, I hope if a Raiders player ever watches the show, I hope that it's never anything personal when I say what I do, because, my job is to come up here and give my honest opinion, right? Like, just like if a Raiders player were to watch this show, and if they were like, hey, if a Raiders player was getting paid to give their opinion on how good or bad I was during a watch party, you got to be able to take that with a grain of salt. These guys are entertainers first, and I know that nobody likes to hear when you're playing good, when you're playing bad. Chuck said not even Caleb Williams. But I do think they are paid the way that they are because it is an entertainment. Yes, they take pride in what they do, but when you get paid the way you do, I think you're allowed to get judged in a certain way. But Jakorian Bennett has been very impressive. Quite frankly, it kind of reminds me of when Trevon Merrick was able to take that next step, when Malcolm Kuntz was able to take that next step. I still think teams don't want to target Jack Jones. They don't want to target, a lot of these other players in our secondary, and right now they're looking at Marcus Epps or looking at Jakorian. Jakorian, though, got a lot of shit this offseason, from me included. I think everybody was saying, myself included, weakest link on that defense. Maxx Crosby 2 months ago said, my sleeper on this team is Jakorian Bennett. Dude's athletic. He just had to put it together. He's putting it together. He looks really good right now. So who is a player that Raider Nation is sleeping on right now? The two names, and the one name that I've been saying for over a year is Adam Butler. He's finally getting some recognition. Robert Spillane, we know that he's a great player. Somebody needs to tell PFF, because I don't know who's doing the PFF grades, but whoever gave Robert Spillane a 47 PFF grade for that last week performance against the Ravens, I got a lot of friends at PFF. You don't deserve to have a job, quite frankly. I would say another player that I think people are sleeping on right now, and maybe Luke Getsy's sleeping on him, Trey Tucker. Can we get Trey Tucker some deep ball throws? Can we get Trey Tucker involved a little bit? Because I don't understand how you see what Trey Tucker did in the preseason and not do anything in the preseason in the regular season. That's not even... This is Luke Getsy sleeping on him. I want to see more out of Trey Tucker this week against the Panthers. Let's go to Ja-Man the Great. Could we trade for a running back, maybe Mostert from Miami? We're not going to trade for a running back. I don't really think that... I will admit, I don't think that Zeus is a great fit right now with our running back scheme. I also don't think that Zeus has done a great job looking at the holes. I think that we might have the worst running back room in the entire league right now. But, for a guy like Mostert, he's worked in a James Craig system before with Miami and with San Francisco. It's kind of like the same exact scheme. You could potentially look for a back like that. But again, what are you going to give up for Raheem Mostert? I would look at the open market, the free agent market, try to find a name there. But there's just you trading for Raheem Mostert, I don't know if that makes a difference with this offensive line. Quite frankly, you could trade for whoever you think the best running back in the league is right now. You could trade for him. With this offensive line, it's not going to matter. Let's go to Autumn Win. What's up, bro? Has your Raiders record prediction changed after 2 weeks of the season? Nope. I predicted that the Raiders at this point would be 1-1. Now, I thought we'd beat the Chargers and we'd lose to the Ravens, but I got to give Madden some credit. We did some Madden simulations. Our Madden simulation had us losing to the Chargers. The score was almost right. Our Madden simulation had the Raiders beating the Ravens. That score prediction was 26-20. Madden right now has the Raiders beating the Panthers, so if I was a Raiders fan, I would go back and I'd look at our Madden live streams. If I didn't get to your question today live during Thursday Night Football, always remember that you guys can hit me up on IG. You can hit me up on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. I get a lot of DMs. I do my best to go through those DMs. I try to go through about 50 a night, which, here's the transparency part of Thursday Night Football, the transparency part of this show. And when people watch this show, I want you guys to know I talk to you the way that I talk to my best friends, right? A lot of times when I do DMs, it's either A, when I'm dropping a 2, B, when I can't sleep at night, or C, when I wake up in the morning and I'm getting ready to motivate myself to go on a run or to go work out, and Chuck's sitting right there next to me and he's just rocking with me. I will do my best to get to those DMs. I really, really mean it. So reminder, though, Chugs and I are going to be live 1 hour before the Raiders and Carolina Panthers game. Make sure you pull up. Make sure you tune in. And if you're watching this show on a later date, you got to start tuning into Thursday Night Football because that's where the real ones are at.